Each year, the members of the senior class elect the classmate who they believe will best describe and sum up their years at St. Stephen's. This year's senior speaker is Charlie Hubbard.
Let me tell you a story. Last Friday was senior day. A whole day spent together as a grade, kicking back at a pool party, just soaking it all in before we came back to campus for our big moment, ringing the bell. After rushing back on the bus, the whole grade crowded around the bell, waiting for the clock to strike 3:45. And when it finally did, we all exploded. Smiles everywhere, jumping, yelling, just pure excitement. We were ecstatic. Then, as the adrenaline faded, I started noticing something else. So many of my classmates had tears streaming down their faces. For me, though, it didn't feel like anything super special was happening. So I walked over to Evan and I asked, "Do you see these people crying? Do you feel any of that?" He shook his head. "Nope. What is wrong with us?" We just chalked it up to the fact that neither of us are really criers and left it at that. Slowly, everyone started heading down to the fields for the Powder Puff game, but for some weird reason, I decided to hang back. I think because I just wanted a moment to myself on campus. I wandered over to Brewster Memorial over there and grabbed one of the many chairs scattered around campus. Then I walked to the senior tables for a bit, and finally made my way through the doors of the chapel, down the aisle, and I sat down right there. I took a deep breath, and I started thinking back on my time at St. Stephen's. And then, out of nowhere, I broke down in tears. Full-on sobbing. Not because I was sad the ride was over, but because I felt so incredibly grateful that it ever happened at all. That experience was so powerful. Reverend Amy, some might even call it numinous. And in that moment, I just felt unbelievably lucky. This school means so much to me, just as I'm sure it means so much to all of you. But honestly, trying to capture what this community means using just my own words is pretty tough. So, naturally, I did what any self-respecting St. Stephen's student would do. I turned towards the scientific method. And what my mom later called, quote, "the most St. Stephen's thing ever," I conducted a highly rigorous double-blind statistical survey of my classmates to gather evidence to describe the emotional experience of being here. This was, of course, conducted during peak novel project season, while a particularly aggressive strain of senioritis was ravaging the student body, but still the responses poured in. Some heartfelt, some hilarious, and some interesting. But somehow, through the chaos, a picture began to emerge. I first asked, "What are you going to remember most when you leave the Hill?" And the answers, I believe, revealed the very soul of our school. The shared suffering during those painfully late nights wrestling with the Mikan Notebook, the teachers who cared so deeply about their subjects, so much so that they even convinced us to care too. The office where we did everything except schoolwork, debating some of life's biggest questions, like, do we really have free will? Is writing an entire essay the day before just a case of poor time management or elite time optimization? And, of course, the most heated debate of all, which bathroom on campus reigns supreme? For the record, Aragona sweeps. It's not even close. The open campus, always buzzing with football, soccer, or spike ball games. The assigned lunch tables, where the conversations just clicked. Or, popularly in my survey, the feeling of relinquishing the shackles of the obscure but all-consuming Swedish lockdown browser. Everyone's favorite Digiexam. Beyond these memories, I also asked my classmates, what does St. Stephen's mean to you? For many, St. Stephen's isn't just a school, it's a community. A place where you belong, where you're seen, and where you're supported through both your best and your hardest days. One senior put it simply, St. Stephen's means people who have kept me together during the hardest times and helped me create the best times. Another classmate said, it's a place where I've learned not only about the world, but also about myself. And here's one that really stood out. It's definitely some place that pushes you to be at your best, but also has your back when you fall short or struggle. That balance, the challenge and the care, is what makes this place so special. We're here because the community challenges us to rise to our potential, but more importantly, because it truly, like Mr. Woodruff said, believes in us. And that belief has pushed us to grow, to stumble, to learn, to fall, and to succeed in ways we never imagined. Finally, I asked, if you had to just pick one word to sum up your time at St. Stephen's, what would it be? The answers say so much about this community with just a single word. Words like connection, growth, journey, and opportunity remind us that this place isn't just about academics or sports or projects, it's about the whole experience. Other words like stressful, grueling, and intense don't shy away from the truth either. Because St. Stephen's pushes us really hard. But those moments are part of the story too. Part of what made this experience real and raw and unforgettable. And then there were words like bittersweet, surreal, and timeless, which feel like a perfect mix of how it feels to be standing right here, right now. Bittersweet because we're saying goodbye to something that's been so much a part of us. Surreal because it still doesn't quite feel real that this chapter is closing. And timeless because even as we move forward, what we've shared here will always live on inside us. Put all together, these words paint a picture of a place that is challenging but nurturing, intense but also supportive, and ultimately transformative. So there I was, sitting in the chapel last Friday. This chapel, the one we gather in every day, the one a few of us may or may not have accidentally skipped a time or two, the one where we sit together, we sing together, sometimes sweat together, and in that moment, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for a school that's been more than a building, more than a schedule. It's been a community, a home, a forge where we became who we are. We made mistakes, a lot of those. We grew up. We found people who stood by us when things got tough and celebrated with us when things went right. The school has been the backdrop for our hardest tests, our biggest laughs, our fiercest debates, and our closest friendships. It has shaped us, challenged us, and most importantly, connected us. So, as we step off the hill today, it's not the end of the story, it's just the start of a new chapter. One where we take everything we've learned here and turn it into the next great adventure. Knowing that no matter where we go, no matter what we do, this place, this community, the hill, St. Stephen's, will always be our home. Thank you.